Well, I want to make a video of my freshly restored Blickensderfer's number 5 typewriter. I bought this off of eBay from a woman whose father had it. It was in very good condition to start with, just needed a little cleaning, and it wasn't working when I purchased it. There's some videos of this typewriter on YouTube, but I wanted to make another one since this is done. You can see it's in pretty nice condition. What I did was when I got it initially, like I say, I was in very nice shape. It wasn't working. When you tried to type, the type had just kind of jammed up on it. I found out what the problem was is that it was seized on this little pin, and I'll make a video and add it to this one that shows the typewriter in action. But I took it all apart, cleaned everything in the sink, degreased everything. You can see I polished this. Had to take everything apart. And you can see how it operates here. You depress this lever, and that allows you to move the carriage back and forth. This lever here you can adjust it with this dial, or with this little kind of knob. You can adjust how far this moves the paper up. So if you want double space or single space, you can adjust it with that. I'm real impressed with the design of this typewriter. Bought it initially because I saw on a design page they had this and showed it as a very nice minimalist typewriter. Originally I was looking to get the number 6, which is basically the same typewriter but aluminum. But when I saw this one in black, I changed my mind. This one has the DHIATENSOR keyboard. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. In hindsight, I wish I had gotten the QWERTY keyboard since I'm a touch typist, but I like this one since it's this typewriter came with this keyboard more. I was going to polish out the space bar, but I decided not to mess with it. Anyways, you can see some of the functionality on it here. I'll go through in a second. In my particular case, I had to manufacture a replacement feed roller. The one that I had kind of smashed down into the platen here, and I guess it had hardened over the years. So initially I took this off and took it apart. I tried to turn it down on my lathe, but the dry rubber just cracked off, and it left me with just a rod. And so I got some silicone tubing. I think it was 5/32 interior diameter and a little over 3/8 exterior. Put it on, cut it and put it on, worked fabulous. So you can see when you turn. There's a company that remanufactures these, but because mine is a little dry, but because it still has some life, and I decided not to take it apart. I wanted to leave it original for now. You can see I polished every little area. This is kind of cool. This is a stop for the carriage. So I felt some of the videos on eBay some of the videos on YouTube didn't really show how the typewriter worked too much. So give you kind of an idea of some of the features. So depending on where you put that little guy, it'll stop the carriage. So you can control kind of where your left margin is. And if you want to, all you do is you take this out, and then depending on kind of where you place it, there's some little spots where it hits further and further in. And you can see there's another one over there. So that's kind of cool. There's no way to control the right margin as far as I know. There is a little bell system here, and you can kind of see when the carriage comes to the end, it just kind of dings like that. Like I said, I was real impressed with how much adjustability there is on the typewriter. This, for example, you can adjust it to put pressure on the paper with this little piece right here. This adjustment on top here puts tension on this spring, which controls how hard it is to press the keys. So I thought that was kind of cool. You can see I manufactured my own replacement rubber feet. The one, when it came originally, it was the feet were dried up, so I had to make these myself and put them in. Over here on this side, I'm going to put the carriage stop back on. So it's a really great little typewriter. I've already written a letter on it. You can see this is the ink roller set up here. So there's a little roller which you bend this little leg over here up, and then you can take this roller off. This appears to be the original roller. It was a little dried out. I was able to get some stamp pad ink and get it to function. Not quite as well as I wanted, but not too bad. For a while, it took me a while to figure out what this thing did. I was able to find some old manuals on the typewriter, and of course read those. And then once I actually started typing it, it quickly became apparent what this is for. This is so that this shows you where your letter is going to appear. So if you make a mistake and you need to back up and correct, this gives you a guide as to where the letter is going to strike. So that's kind of cool. Let me turn it around here. You can see a little bit here. You see how this works when you push on this to advance the carriage. It's just pushing that little guy in there. There's an adjustment down here. I forget what it does. I adjust a little bit. I believe it also had to do with how much tension the keys push back on you, but I could be wrong about that. This little guy, took me a while to figure out where this went. This holds your paper. You just squeeze that, and there's a couple little spots that it goes into. Mainly I'm making this video just, in case somebody takes their typewriter apart or they're interested in seeing how these things work. This one I checked the serial number. This is serial number 44867. Kind of see down in there. And it's also printed underneath here, as I recall. This one I looked up on the serial number database, and it shows that it was made, I believe, in 1899. On the type head, I don't have, let me get the ink roller out of the way, but you can kind of see it turns to the proper location and then it goes down. When you hit it with a little bit more force, it'll go down and make an impression. Like I say, I'll add to this video and show how it works. The type head, you pull this, you rotate this little pen clip here that allows the type head to come up. One kind of cool thing is when it comes to the caps lock or the figure to select the different characters on the keys, what happens is when you push this, for example, it actually pushes the head up to get the lower row of characters. When you push the caps lock, same thing, only not as high. So you can see, try to get everything in frame here. Figure, caps lock. The other cool thing is this, if you want to do if you want to do caps and lock it, you pull this little guy forward, and see that holds that down. Same thing with the figure. If you want to type numbers, for example, you push this down, pull this guy forward, that locks the figures. So typewriter is fully functional again. Like I said, it took probably, I don't know, a couple months to rebuild it. A lot of that was sourcing the stuff for like the feet, and I tried 3 or 4 different materials for the feed roller, and then just, you know, taking everything apart and making sure it was working. I'll wrap this video up here, but as soon as I have another set of hands, I'll put some paper in and type something out real quick. Okay, well, I don't have an extra set of hands, but I'm going to try to do this one-handed, so bear with me a little bit. So put the paper in like this. Now, it may not go in exactly straight since I'm doing this by myself. Get it start here a little bit up against the roller. So it went in a little crooked. I usually do it with 2 hands. You can see what I was mentioning before. This little adjustment here controls this. When you screw it in, it raises that little, you can see it raises that little bar up back there. This little guy right there. So I guess that's if you're using multiple copies or typing on thicker paper. So when you unscrew it, then it allows that to rest down. And I'm just going to type one-handed here, but it'll give you a sense. Now I haven't inked the roller since last night, so I don't know if it will make a good impression. Let me just start typing with the letter A, and you kind of get a sense of how it looks when it types. So you can kind of see a little bit. I don't, like I say, the ink roller is a little dry. It may need replacing. Let's try a capital. So put that. So that'll be capital A. Let's see how that looks. So you can kind of see how the typewriter looks when it types. So we can do a few little guys. So it's pretty cool, I think. Take it off. Caps lock. And I mean, by no means can I type. Ding. By no means can I type as fast as, you know, I can on like the, you know, a normal computer keyboard or anything like that. For one, you can see, obviously the ink roller is drying out there. For one, this isn't the keyboard I know, so I've got to kind of go back to the hunt and peck method. And when you return, the way I do it to return the carriage is first I do this, which moves the paper up, and then I do this and pull it back over. And you can see that's where this comes into play. If you put in this hole, it'll stop a little further out because there's a stair step stop affair in there. So if you put it on the top hole, it won't hit till much further in. One thing I want to mention about this typewriter also is you can take the carriage completely out. You simply remove this stop, depress this, pull the carriage out. However, when you go to put it back in, you've got to be very careful to depress this little mechanism, the one with the little crossbar that gets pushed. You have to be very careful to depress that to engage the teeth underneath. Because one time I just slid the carriage back in and didn't depress that, and what happens is the carriage goes all the way to the left and locks, and it's very difficult to unlock it. So you got to be aware of that if you remove the carriage. But otherwise, you can kind of see how the typewriter works. This is a test. So they put all the most commonly used keys across the bottom row, which I guess they refer to as a scientific keyboard layout. And then I guess I presume the next most used keys are here, and then the least used keys are here. So again, I didn't ink the roller before I made the video, but you can kind of see what it looks like there. Now when I did put ink onto the roller, I just put 6 or 7 drops all the way around. And when I first started typing, the ink splashed a little bit. As I was saying, the ink splashed a little bit. I received a phone call on my iPhone while I was making this video, but just to wrap it up, that's the Blick & Dersfer's number 5 typewriter. Hope you've enjoyed the video. And like I say, I just want to make this for anyone else who's interested in this particular typewriter and wanted to see kind of how it functioned, how it looks, you know, when it's in action. Great little typewriter, is very light. It's a little smaller than I thought. I mean, it's, you know, not too big. And like I say, just finished the restoration the other night, taking it all apart. So great little typewriter, and you can find out a lot about them online, but there weren't too many videos of them in action, so I wanted to, now that I've got this one restored, I wanted to put one up. So hope you've enjoyed the video, and please subscribe to the channel. I'll be having some more videos over the course of this year, including some on, I would guess, the chainsaw, and maybe some cooking videos. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned.